In this episode of Real Estate Simplified, I explain why there has not and likely will not be a huge price correction in the housing market. Welcome to Real Estate Simplified.
The mission of this journey is to help people that are considering a move to the real estate industry, have been doing this for a short period of time, or who simply want to know more about real estate and the behind the scenes ins and outs of the highs and sometimes lows of this industry. Welcome to Real Estate Simplified.
Okay, so there have been a lot of shifts in the housing market recently. Mortgage rates rose dramatically last year, impacting many people's ability to buy a home. By most accounts, the rates doubled and even continued to increase within the last few weeks of 2022. And after several years of rapid price appreciation, home prices finally peaked and began to level off last summer. Because of that, these changes led to a rise in headlines saying prices would end up crashing. You gotta love and enjoy fake news and how it really does affect the way we perceive countless situations. So even though we're no longer seeing the buyer frenzy that drove home values up during the pandemic, if anybody was a part of that buying process, I'm sorry, but prices have been relatively flat at the national level. I've got a story about how we experienced this same situation over the last few months when we purchased our home. So while homes were sitting on the market longer, prices were not falling off a cliff like some people hoped for and honestly anticipated. They were just kind of sitting on the sideline, may still be sitting on the sideline. I wasn't necessarily in that camp, but as a buyer at the time, I, to be honest, would have been okay with a slight dip in prices. To make this situation even more challenging though, we were wanting to be in Frisco, Texas, which happens to be one of the strongest housing markets in not only Texas, but the entire United States. So it seemed like we were walking uphill both ways. The home we did end up buying was a unique situation which worked in our favor. One of the owners had recently passed away, and the living spouse wanted to move closer to family as soon as possible. Because of that, we were able to get our offer accepted really without any issue at around 5% below list price, maybe even a little bit more. But ultimately, it was a win-win situation for both parties. She wanted out fast, and we loved the location and possibility of Courtney being so close to her office. What was great, or even more great, is that it appraised over the sales price. So we immediately gained equity once closing happened. Now, that was back in December of 2022. Now that we are finishing up the month of March and beginning to get into the spring and summer months, home prices have continued to increase, and multiple offers are back on the table almost as strong as they were when rates were in the 2s and low 3s. So I've got some data here. Lawrence Yun, chief economist at the National Association of Realtors, also known as NAR, says that he doesn't expect that to change. He says home prices will be steady in most parts of the country, with a minor change in the national median home price. Take it for what it is, good or bad, I'm just letting you know. So you might think sellers would have to lower prices to attract buyers in today's market with the higher interest rates, right? But that's part of why some may have been waiting for prices to come crashing down. The reality is there's another factor at play. There's simply too low of inventory. And according to Yun, that's limiting just how low prices can go. He says we simply don't have enough inventory. Will some markets see a price decline? Yes. But with the supply not being there, the repeat of a 30% price decline is highly, highly unlikely. So he's referring to a price decline in 08-09. So I want to share some information that Keeping Current Matters recently put together. It is a detailed look at the months of inventory. If you've heard or watched any of my other episodes, I've talked about the months of inventory. So they have one since January of 2011. At that time, home inventory was around 9.5 months. What that means is if there are no additional homes put on the market, it would take 9.5 months for all of those homes that are currently on the market to sell. Okay, now that we know what months of inventory means, today, for comparison, we are just below 2.5 months nationally. That is a big difference, and that's not necessarily new. We've been at or near record low inventory levels for a few years now. So that lack of available homes on the market is putting upward pressure on prices. Bankrate puts it like this: this ongoing lack of inventory explains why many buyers still have little choice but to bid up prices. And it also indicates that the supply and demand equation simply won't allow a price crash in the near future. So if you're looking at houses, that means everybody else that's looking at houses might be looking at the same one as you are. So if that's not coming down in the market, a lack of supply will keep prices from crashing. And according to industry expert Rick Sharga, inventory isn't likely to rise significantly this year. He says, I believe that we're likely to see low inventory continue to vex, that's our word of the day, the housing market throughout 2023. And on top of that, many sellers are under no pressure to move since they have plenty of equity in the home right now. So that equity acts as a cushion for homeowners, lowering the chances of distressed sales like foreclosures and short sales and people that are just needing to get equity out of their home. Now, if they do get into financial trouble, light at the end of the tunnel? No, not really. They can simply complete a cash out refinance to pull the equity out of the home and remain for as long as they need. And with many homeowners locked into low mortgage rates, that equity cushion isn't going anywhere soon. So I was reading a really interesting article earlier this week mentioning that some homeowners who locked in those lower interest rates, lower being below 3% when buying in 2021 and early 2022, and really even 2020, they feel like they might not ever move because the difference in their monthly payments on a new house will be too great of a change to stomach. I know ever is a very long time, but that's what it said. And even some are making the decision to turn that home into an investment property rather than sell due to the low monthly payments compared to the amount they make renting the home out. So for instance, if they're locked into a low rate, $1,400 month payment, they could make $2,100, their cash flow in $700. All right, I know that sounded a little bit of doom and gloom. I want to let you know it is not impossible to buy a home if you feel it is the right time to buy. I help people do it every single day. But with so few homes available for sale, it is important to know your numbers, what you're comfortable paying monthly, as well as working with a trusted real estate agent who understands your local area. There's your shameless plug for realtors out there. Somebody like that, they can navigate the current market volatility. The bottom line is a lot of people expected prices would crash this year thanks to low buyer demand and higher interest rates, but that isn't happening. And why is that? there aren't enough homes for sale. If you're thinking about moving this spring, let's connect. And really quick, before this episode ends, I want to let you know I'm going to be publishing a safe and clean guide for home ownership. That's something important to me, and I think it might be important to some of y'all. So I'm not exactly set on what the name is going to be, but just wanted to make you aware of it being in the works. The guide is going to cover topics like air quality, water treatment, flooring, home gardens, homesteading, and much more. Also, it's going to be absolutely free. So if you're interested in receiving a copy, please send me an email at brandonkaylarealestate@gmail.com and I'll have my assistant send one over. Hey, I hope this was beneficial to hear from an expert in the industry on honestly what the heck is happening with home prices and what to expect if you are getting into the market. If you or someone you know is looking to buy or sell in the Dallas area, please let me know. I would love to help them out. And if you found this information beneficial, don't forget to leave a rating, like, put in a comment, all the things. Thanks for being here as I try to keep real estate simplified.